Breaking news now on UK defence spending. Let's get details from our security and defence editor, Deborah Haynes. Deborah, what can you tell us?
Well, it's big news actually for defence. So we've had for a long time real alarm bells ringing about the state of defence spending and huge pressure on the Prime Minister to change his policy on defence. And it's been confirmed that the Prime Minister, who's on a trip to Poland at the moment, is going to announce that UK defence spending will rise to 2.5% of national income, of GDP, by 2030. That will mean, if it's rising over time, tens of billions of pounds of additional investment for the armed forces, hugely needed given gaping capability gaps at a time of growing threats. You'll remember the Defence Secretary has said that we are in a pre-war world. The UK Armed Forces has suffered decades of cuts since the end of the Cold War. It's shrunk in size, its capabilities are really wanting, and as we've announced, as we've heard today, we've been giving a lot of our military capability, rightly so, to the Ukrainian armed forces, which are fighting their war in Ukraine. But today the Prime Minister is going to set out a real hardening of UK defence policy with this clear target of 2.5% by a set time frame. It appears that he's taking away a previous caveat that he had couched on that target, saying that the UK would only hit 2.5% of GDP when fiscal and economic conditions allow. Clearly, his advisors are probably saying to him that you can't have choices like that when the threat is so great and the need to rebuild the armed forces is also so huge. And I imagine, given the setting of making this announcement on the world stage while he's in Poland, it could really help to galvanise other European NATO allies also to increase their ambition. You'll remember that back in 2012, I think it was, the UK, here you are, you can see Rishi Sunak meeting with the Polish president. He's also, the Polish Prime Minister, sorry, he's also with Jens Stoltenberg, who is the outgoing head of NATO. This will be hugely welcome news for Jens Stoltenberg that the UK is making a new commitment to increase its defence spending, because in July of this year there is this significant summit due to take place in Washington ahead of the US election. It's marking the 75th anniversary of the NATO alliance. Everybody has their eyes on the US election, the potential for a return of a Donald Trump presidency to the White House, and the pressure that he has previously put on allies to boost their defence spending. So potentially you can imagine the British Prime Minister will be hoping that his announcement could galvanise other NATO allies to increase their ambition. Previously, they made a commitment at a NATO summit here in the UK, in Wales, when David Cameron was Prime Minister, to make 2% a minimum target of defence spending over the next decade. That is right now. Not all countries have met that target. Many of them are accelerating in order to do so. But I think the UK coming out and saying it's going to hit 2.5% of GDP by 2030 is very significant, but it must be said that a number of insiders have said to me repeatedly when I've been reporting on this over years that 2.5% isn't enough. It doesn't even touch the surface in terms of the need, and really we should be thinking about 3% of GDP. And not just that, you'll remember a few weeks ago Sky News revealed that the UK doesn't even have a national defence plan. It has no plan on how its armed forces best need to be configured in order to defend the UK. Yes, they're part of NATO, and yes, NATO has a wide plan for collective defence, but as part of that, there is a real responsibility for each individual country to have their own plans for their own defences, and there's work going on now inside the Ministry of Defence to do this, but it really is an all-of-government effort. And so people will be looking at the Prime Minister and his words today and really hoping that this isn't just a shift in stance now. It marks the beginning of a journey that will see a much greater focus on the importance of defence.